Okay. This is 10 after 11. We want to welcome each and every one of us to this program. I want to sincerely thank everyone that have been part and parcel of this exercise. As at this time that we're starting, we have 39 persons that have already signed in, and some other people are also trying to also come in. This is exciting for us, and we are also very, very happy. We are not taking this for granted. Let me quickly start by saying that we welcome all of you to this inaugural program that is meant to be a regular program, and it's actually meant to be part and parcel of the process towards helping our town, Iperu Remo, to position itself properly in the Committee of Nations, and then to be able to bring good dividends, good benefits to the community. We have taken pain to think through this process, and then to be able to now determine what should be the team for the day, who should be the panelists that we need to bring, and how do we also need to ensure that the critical stakeholders are carried along. And that is why when we talked about this program, we engaged the Alakweru of Iperu to let him actually know what we're doing. We engaged the EBI of Ideno. We also engaged very serious critical stakeholders in the town. The ICD chairman, we also engaged him, and so many other people. Then we now went ahead to look at the team of this day, and that team is Iperu Remo, standing on today, reflecting on yesterday, and projecting into the future. The simple statement only means that because we are part and parcel of today, we need to look through what did our parents do, our forefathers do, to make Iperu great. History has it that community effort was deployed towards developing the hospital that we have, the hospital that we have, towards also the post office, and so many things that we have in that town. The question is, for many of us who are now principal stakeholders today, what do we need to do towards ensuring that we also position the Iperu for the future? And by His grace, history has made it possible for us to have a son of the soil who has now become the governor of the town. We also know that he's not, the governor of the state. We also know that being a governor is not a governor for Iperu. He's a governor for Ogun State. So it is the duty of every community in Ogun State to partner with the government of the day towards drawing dividends of democracy, as it's popularly called, for the town. How also do we need to bring all critical stakeholders together to channel a template for the town that everyone can say this is our vision, and we can now work towards realizing that goal. And this is why we said, who are these people that we need to bring together? We know that the town is filled up with so many people, good people, high quality people. But even in the midst of these, we had to go out of our way to identify who and who that we need to bring. And today, we have this great panelist. Leading the pack is Olushola Ido, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, all the way from the town. We try to also push his profile a bit. He's not a Lagos-based person. He went to primary school in the town, secondary school in the town, before he moved out to a higher institution because the parents does not have an higher institution. And ever since, he had been a great player in the affairs of the town. He belongs to Akeson Frontliners of Iperu, that same club that you have with Opolo Joseph and so many other great people. And this is, by being a lawyer, we know that he should be able to help us to use his legal knowledge to see how do you help to collate a vision for the town using the instrument of the law. And we want to thank him that he accepted to be part and parcel of this process, and we are very, very happy. Son, we're happy to have you in the house. In no particular order, I also want to appreciate and bring on board Kunle Oshilaja. It's been a wonderful time getting to know him. Ever since I met him, it's been a good brother, speaking his mind and going deep. amongst the people that I've met, sincerely speaking, this man is a very deep person. He reflects so well before he makes his views. He also grew up in the town before before the need for golden fleece took him out of Nigeria to abroad. But nature has a way of playing pranks. He was hunted by EcoBank, that's EcoBank International, and they brought him back to Nigeria. As a friend will always say, they brought him as a foreigner back to Nigeria. And ever since, he's been on and doing. As you speak, he's a director of UACN Properties. UACN is the popular UACN that we all know. He's a director on their board now. Kunle Oshilaja, I want to thank you. I want to appreciate you for coming. We also have Reverend Bola Oyeledun. I'll keep on putting that Reverend because he loves that. And that is the last calling he made before retiring. Bola Oyeledun is a media person, and his profile speaks volume. He's also into so many other things. He's an activist ever from his university days. And he's also a believer in the community project. For several of us who go towards the road to election, you see a project that is on the left-hand side, around that library side. That is something that himself and some of his associates have been able to bring from the federal government to Iperu, and he's not yet tired. He did something a few days ago. He had to also network with Globalcom to ensure that the network of Globalcom is very active in Iperu. So that is the network that himself uses. And these are the reasons why we keep saying we have quality people, but we need to bring them together to be able to realize the vision of the town. We also have in the house my wonderful sister from another mother. She's married into Iperu, and you know she enjoys a double advantage. The law supports a woman to aspire from two perspectives, either through the area of birth or through the area of marriage. She's born in Ishagam, but she's married to an Iperu person. The husband is Shoyombo. I just forgot the first Kunle. I think it's Kunle. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. The husband also signed into this program. He's also part and parcel of our audience for today. We want to thank you so much. The husband is also a lawyer. The wife is also a lawyer and a great educationist. Before crossing to Ogun State as the special advisor to the government, she was the Director General Quality Control for Education in Lagos State. She's made her mark, and we're happy that we also have people like that that have agreed to be part and parcel of this process. So we're happy to have each and every one of you. I can also see the KBAC Alakwaru in the house is signing, and I've also seen the Ebi of the now, and I've also signing. If I'm not going to, it will not take much of your time, but I want to thank all of our friends and associates that have signed in from all far and near. I know that we've tried to reach across to all of you. Unfortunately for us, Zoom has made it possible for all of them to be able to connect. There are some of them for the past 5-10 years, they have never been to Iperu. But when we got across to them, the first thing they said, oh, so it's even a Zoom, then it's much more better for us to be part of this. And I know that because they are part of this technologically, when it is time to have a physical one sometimes in the future, they can never deny coming to town. So I want to thank each and every one of you for part. Okay, it's Kayo Dishiyombo. We want to thank you. That's the spouse of Mrs. Ronke Shoyombo. We want to thank you for part and parcel of this program. We are excited to have each and every one of you.
No, sorry, I'm Yinka Shoyombo's wife.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to say Yinka.
Yinka Shoyombo, thank you.
I wanted to say Yinka. Sorry. We want to thank each and every one of you for connecting onto this platform. This is very, very interesting to us, and we're happy to have you. My name still remains Taiwo Gbenga Owo Karade. I'm also a legal practitioner, but I believe strongly in community development advocacy, and that is what is driving this exercise that we're having. So on this note, I want to bring on board the Alakweru of Iperu, KBAC, Oba Ìdòwú pé a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín pé a pè yín pé ẹ dẹ̀ wá ẹ create time fún wa látàárọ̀ inú wa dùn ayọ̀ wa kún ẹ ṣeun gan kábíyèsí. Ní báyìí ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí láti ẹnu kábíyèsí. Kábíyèsí, mi ò bá sọ wípé kẹ́ sọ Yorùbá fún wa ká lè feel pé okay program yìí bó ti yẹ pé lóyìnbó ni gbogbo wa, but at least ká má jẹ́ kí òyìnbó máa gba gbogbo èdè wa lọ. So ẹ ní àǹfààní láti mix both the English and the Yorùbá torí Yorùbá náà ni gbogbo wa. Ẹ ṣé sà.
You need to unmute him. Benga, unmute Kabiyesi.
I have unmuted him severally. I think he muted himself from his end. I have unmuted him, but I think he muted himself because I made him a co-host, so he has the capacity to also unmute himself. I've unmuted him, but he's muted himself. Okay, let me try somewhere.
That's it. It's done. It's done.
Okay. Kábíyèsí.
I'm so pleased today because today is one of my happiest days in life. For this program to come up at this time, we thank God pé ìlú Ìpẹ̀rù náà akẹsàn agbègbè wa o, because the whole discussant, they are all my people, they are my brothers, they are my sisters, and being the Kábíyèsí, the father of all. And our goal is to move Iperu Akẹsàn forward. Lágbára Ọlọ́run, we shall all reach the promised land. Lágbára Ọlọ́run náà dẹ̀ ní kẹ́ àwa pẹ̀lú yìí o, ẹ̀kọ́ ló kò délé o. God bless you all. Thanks.
Ẹ ṣeun gan kábíyèsí, a dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín for that fún ẹnu àṣẹ tí ẹ fi fún wa yẹn. A máa rí yín bá o, adé apẹ́ lórí o, bàtà apẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀ o, ìlú Ìpẹ̀rù lábẹ́ tí yín á túbọ̀ máa gbèrú sí o, a máa rí yín bá o. Ẹ ṣé gan sà. Mo mọ̀ wípé ọba ẹbí náà wà nínú ilé. Tí wọ́n bá ń gbọ́ wa, ẹ jẹ́ kí a tẹ́tí sí wọn báyìí. Ẹbí sà, I have tried to. Okay, we won't use that to delay ourselves anytime. Ẹbí. Kábíyèsí Ẹbí. Well, I think there's a little challenge with his phone, but we'll not because of that delay ourselves. We have listened to Atigba Àṣẹ látẹnu Kábíyèsí to be able to move on. A dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run pé wọ́n fún wa ní àǹfààní láti wà pẹ̀lú wa. Ní báyìí, the theme, like I said, is Iperu Remo, standing on today, reflecting on yesterday, and projecting to the future. That is the major theme. But our speakers, our panelists will speak from different dimensions. Olushola Idowu, the son, will be speaking from what is the missing link? What is the missing link? And then he will now also propose some issues that we need to also document for learning purpose. Shola Idowu, sir. What shall I do?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Okay. You are online, sir. You can start the discussion. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. As the anchor man has said, my name is Olushola Idowu, a bona fide indigene of the town, a legal practitioner, and by the grace of Almighty God, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Well, Iperu is our town. is our source, and there is nothing we can do. We cannot deny it. To me, we cannot talk of the missing in terms of religious harmony. All the three religious organizations live in good happiness together without much rancor. Iperu was moving fast economically. We had those small-scale industries in those days. We had the Dosumu factory, we had the Festus Glass, which was put in Iperu on a very good note. But after some time, things started nosediving, and that brought us to where we are today. Now, our personal being over and above the town, and these work against the community. If at a particular point in time, my brethren, we had a senator from this town and a minister from this town, what did we gain from having those two important personalities? My knowledge is to the effect that we didn't gain anything. Why? Because personality clash. That often comes in. A very small town like Iperu, having the benefit of having a minister then and a senator, would have taken a very good advantage of those two personalities and improve the development of the town. This comes to politics. From the First Republic, from what we learned, in the First Republic, you have Chief Awolowo and late Samuel Akintola Ladoke. They were the two protagonists when it came to politics in those days. Of course, the thing boiled down to every town and villages in Yoruba land. But my perception is that it was more divisive in Iperu. Awolowo was not from Iperu. Akintola was not from Iperu. Why should that politics, the enmity of their political difference, have a fundamental rule and work negatively about our town? So these are issues that brought us to where we are. Then this one may look a little bit minute, but an average elite in Iperu have this attitude that the indigenes of the town do not want his or her progress. That makes him to stay away. It makes him to stay away. We have so many indigenes of Iperu who are successful, whether locally or abroad. And when you mention them coming in, the first thing is, Ofelo Parai. I thank God with the present KBAC, things are changing. Things are changing. That perception is getting a little bit lapsing now. Then again, we do not have any identifiable project. Any identifiable project that the town can have and will naturally bring everybody together. At any point in time, when the town wants to develop, there must be an identifiable project. We do not have it. That is one of the reasons why the town, to me, is lacking is lacking, my dear. Then again, sorry to say this, the leadership is lacking. The leadership is lacking. We have the Iperu of Iperu, who is the natural leader of the town. He is the natural leader of the town. We need a political leader that can muster things. Is the natural ruler, is the Oba of the town. But naturally, we need a political leader that can muster political will for the town. To God's glory, we have the executive governor of Ogun State, who's an indigene. But from my own perception, it appears as if the man has more prominent enemies in the town more than every other aspect. He's there today by the grace of Almighty God. It's Almighty God that elevates. My own view is that we should support him and ensure that he succeeds. Now, having identified all these problems, because I have to talk briefly for other people to talk, we now have to look at, we've talked about the missing links. These are the things that were missing that made us to be where we are today. Now, the way forward, like I've said, partisan policies have divided us much. We've got to create a new awareness in partisan politics. We have to get to a stage that we have to agree that we cannot have the same political view. But when it comes to the agenda of Iperu, we have to relegate our political view to the background and be able to pontificate the ideas of Iperu. So the issue of we allowing politics to divide us, I think we've got to really work on that. That yes, we could belong to different political parties, but when it comes to the development of the town, we should please relegate our political view to the background. Then the elite, we elite should come together, because it is the elite that directs any organization, not the masses. The masses will follow you, but the elite are the intelligentsia. The elite have to come together at this particular point in time and create a focus for the town. We've had a Sunday celebration, but a Sunday celebration is just like a jamboree. We come in every November or thereabout. We do whatever we have to do, we go. It's my own suggestion that a Sunday should be tied to a particular project. So that project, we have to know where we were last year, where we want to be this year. That project will be the driving force for us. Not that we just come for a Sunday, then we go. Then again, as a lawyer, we have to talk now about the investment. Those who are in the investment sector will be able to enlighten us more on that. But my own view is that we've got to have a legal frame within which we can package these investments. Like, for instance, what stops the town from incorporating an organization, an investment company, mainly to tap the resources of Iperu, comprising of men and women of integrity that can manage it and sort the town forward. That is my own view. We need that. We need to concretize that. We need a think tank that will be able to say this is what Iperu is lacking. Then we need the personnel that can execute what the think tanks have suggested. But since the world is dynamic, we cannot just do this on individualistic level. We've got to incorporate an organization. It can be a limited ability company. It could be a corporate one that is not limited by guarantee or whatever. But let there be something that could be incorporated that will be managed on behalf of Iperu, so that we could just have economic view while we are having the political view of Iperu. Let us have the economic view, because it's the economic view that will drive the town. It's the economy that drives the town. Luckily, we have the governor who happens to be an indigene of the town. We should all support him. Irrespective of our political belief. We should engage this think tank. We should have a think tank of people who can highlight what we need, and those people cannot present it to the governor. What are the things we actually need? Higher institutions develop a community. We lack one. Something has to be done to drag a higher institution to the town in any form. When you drive a higher institution, it increases the per capita income of the indigenous of the town, apart from influencing our younger elements to go to school. So we've got to work away with the governor, how we could attract a higher institution, how we could attract investments to the town. We could not leave it to the government alone. We could not leave it to the government alone. We should encourage the entrepreneurs who are indigenous of the town to come home and set up small-scale industries. The government will do its best. We should encourage them to come home. We had this in the past. We had the Dosumuni factory. We had Fesor factory. Of late, we have Toto factory, which I learned is a little bit defunct. So we should encourage those of us who have the entrepreneurship interest to come home and put small-scale industries in the town. Then finally, we should have a roll call of the end list where we can draw from. We should have a roll call of the end list, who and who in Iperu, in different status of life, different disciplines from which we can draw up, so that when we need anything in business, we should know whom to contact. When we need anything in medicine, we should know whom to contact. When you need anything in other spheres of life, we should know. There should be a roll call. I hope this workshop, this seminar, will be able to work towards that we need a roll call of who is who in Iperu, where we can identify the talents and the skill of indigenes of Iperu. In my own profession, the legal profession, thank God, the executive governor is giving us a magistrate and Alant is giving us a high court. That, in a way, will enhance the legal system in the town. It's unfortunate, since the creation of Ogun State, it's very, very sad that we've not had an indigene who is a judge of the high court. Not that we don't have lawyers who are competent, but the political will for them to get there is not available. We could look into that how could Iperu, as it is, since 1976, not have an indigene who is a high court judge? It looks a little bit odd. Does it mean that we don't have lawyers who are competent? We don't have lawyers who are qualified? We have, but there's nobody to push. There's no party to push their candidacy. So that is where the elite have to come together and ensure that all these things are packaged and therefore the betterment of the town. And most importantly, I advocate that irrespective of our political differences, let us support the incumbent governor. He is the son of the town. Charity begins at home. As far as I'm concerned, the charity is Iperu. The home is Iperu. We must impress it on the executive governor. He must leave his footprint on the sand of time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Shalai Dewu, for that wonderful opening address. I am sure that the audience is also flowing through. You identified some things that I've noted there. One is that we need a directory for the town where it will be possible to know the talents and the quality that the town has for us to be able to draw up at that point in time. We need to identify what the vision for the town should be so that we don't work at cross purposes, and when we're meeting government or meeting any stakeholder conveniently, all of us have the same agenda as per what the town should have. You also said that the elites of the town need to come together and be able to form a common platform for us to be able to support this community if we truly expect it to move on. You also mentioned the issue of our institution. We also know that when you have an institution, you are drawing into a community a huge number of people from other environments. And truly, like you said, that would help to improve on the capacity, financial capacity of the town. So many people have to get returns on investment for their houses and whatever. But I want to thank you so much for all of these ones. I have noted some of these things, and I'm sure that our audience are also noting some of those things that you have said. Thank you. Let me quickly bring on board our next speaker. That is Kunle Oshilaja. And your time is, yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I thank our royal fathers, Alaperu of Iperu, the Ebi of Idena, and of course, the Akufo of Idarika, which is my hometown. I thank everyone, our elders, ladies and gentlemen. My story is similar to Brother Shola Idowu's story. Slightly different in that I never grew up in Iperu. I was born, bred, buttered, and jammed in Lagos. Very few times did I even come to Iperu. The first time I actually slept in Iperu was in 1966 when my late grandmother died in June. And I remember then it was 3 days. But after that, I didn't come to Iperu again until I entered university. Why? Similar to the story that Brother Shola was saying, in that, and look, we have to be very frank with ourselves. Iperu has a lot of stories around it that make people run away from it. In my business venture that I've met people from Iperu, indigenous of Iperu, everybody say, And my link to Iperu in my adulthood was not even from my father. I'll tell this story. It was the late Chief Awutesu that actually called me many, many years ago in the UK and said, Eyomoyi, to whom much is given, much is expected. You have to, and you must play in Iperu. And he encouraged us at the time, some nearly 15, 20 years ago, to set up a Lagos branch or the UK branch of Iperu Community Descendants Association, which with all excitement we did. We all started to gather around, go to meetings, do all sorts. But along the way, there are simmerings of stories. Somebody will come from Iperu to UK, tell a story. Somebody will come from somewhere, tell a story. Somebody, to the point where the whole thing disintegrated, which is a shame. Again, the story of Iperu. But as one gets older, you have no choice. Something pulls you back to your homeland. And that is why one is involved in this thing. And it's important that Iperu must go ahead. Brother Shola Idowu mentioned having a senator, having a minister, and I'm very glad that he concluded, what did we get out of it? It is very difficult for a community to get anything unless they're united, no matter what happens. And also, progress and development in any community or in any group is only fostered by a handful of people. It is started by a handful of people. And then the whole people, the number of people around, rally around to make it happen. And that is the thing we have to nurture in Iperu, which we do not have. How do you fund things in Iperu or in any government? Any town, city can only be funded by two things. One, government and public service. Two, philanthropic. And it has to be the individuals or the people of the community that create the philanthropic element of it. At the moment, again, I'm going to be controversial, and I'm being controversial because my father is like that, and that's where I've been brought up. I have to speak my mind. At the moment, when anything wants to be done in Iperu, everybody only thinks of one human being. If all of us gather together and put in our 1 penny or 1 naira or 2 kobo or that, we all have a stake. But the first recourse is, let us think of something or one person. We have to move away from that, because the future of everything that happens in the Iperu has to be everybody together. I will stop there and I will jump onto about 9 issues which I think we need to deal with. Sorry, if you just bear with me, I'm switching on my computer. And those things are this. And I canvassed and discussed with various people. What Iperu was defined many years ago as one of the largest cities or towns in that area, in Remo. It controlled the trade routes between all the way from the Niger and within Yoruba mainland until the British occupied the area in the 19th century. That's definition in Google. It is the most centrally placed town in Remo division. If you look at a map and you see the nodal point where Iperu is, it should be straight ahead of everything around in Remo. To the south, of course, you have Shagamu. To the west, you have Ogeri. To the north, you have Oderemo. To the east, you have Elisha. But if you look at that same map, what is the boundary of Iperu? Where does Iperu end? I was so fascinated that I went into Google and I put the satellite on it. And I think everybody should be encouraged to look at it. Where is the boundary of Iperu? We don't know. Why can we not have, for instance, something around that says, to the north, welcome to Iperu. To the south, welcome to Iperu. East and west, welcome to Iperu. Such that people do not encroach on what is called Iperu. Because as it is, because we are not growing the town, because we are disunited, because things are not happening, Iperu is being it's shrinking as we are. And we don't know where it gets to. My father was telling me the other day that all the way to the expressway is part of land owned by Iperu. Who knows? It's going to go. And by the way, by the time that the expressway is done, you'll be surprised at what is going to happen all the way from Ibadan to Lagos. That's going to be one of the biggest industrial estates in West Africa. And if we do not take our stake, we're going to waste our time. That's one. Two, the ICDA. We come every year, we have some jamboree, as he said, we have a party, we all go home. I think ICDA, which corrals everybody, must decide and have various committees. Task individuals in Iperu all over the world to be part of various committees. The first committee should be education. Education and training. You have lots of young people without jobs, without things. And I hear talking about institutions, but I think it starts from primary, secondary, and tertiary. We must be able to know what is happening in all those schools, whether it's Asaruddin, whether it is Catholic school, whether it is anything. We must be part of it. Training and vocational center, and I suspect there will be more discussion on that. Healthcare, we have a committee to handle that. We have a committee to handle security, a committee to handle infrastructure. If we do that, and every year or every 3 months, there's a report about that, it is easy to then take that to the governor to say, Mr. Governor, these are the issues. This is what we are doing. Even if he has all sorts of other things doing from other places, at least he will know that we have the focus of how we want to do things. My brother talked earlier of database. I think that is one very fundamental and big thing that must be done. We must be charged to have a database of all indigents, local and in diaspora. The amount of money that government of Nigeria gets from remittances from overseas nationals to come to Nigeria is huge. Why can't we do the same thing in Peru? I think that's something that needs to be looked at. Again, people are not encouraged to come. If you want to buy land, somebody's going to fleece you, is going to talk all sorts of stories. Why can't Iperu again decide? Through the Obas, we want to create a master plan of a new town and encourage young people to create estates or a big estate to say, come and buy land here, start building your little bungalow or whatever, create a community. At that point in time, when you infuse that, give them security, give them light, people will come. and Iperu will grow. If people do not come home, Iperu will not grow. We have multinationals all around us. I was talking about the huge wave of industrialization that's going to happen on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Nestle, Dangote, Guinness. When people come home, they will bring businesses, they will serve, they will go and talk to them. What can you do for Iperu? How can it work? That's another thing. You drive into Iperu, you are on the right-hand side from Shagamu. You enter you see vision of a very bad burial ground. So unkept. You then think, is this the same town? We must do something about it. Community spirit. Somebody needs to lead that charge. Kabesi, you have to lead this charge. Our Kabesi, you have to bring people in. You have to tie them down to Iperu. People have to do things. It is tough, but we have to look up to you. The governor needs to come to Iperu, needs to rally people around, and we should not look at the governor as if it is just a meal ticket to do things. The governor has all sorts of stakes, Abeokuta, Jebode, and all that, so he has to satisfy other people. But if we as a unit do not come together to say, this is how we want us to be helped, it will not happen. I think I will stop there. I've spoken for quite a while, and I'm happy to take questions as and when. I'm happy to share my list in terms of PDF to the organizer with time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Oshilaja. That is also a very tough one. You are speaking to the conscience of the town, and I'm sure that as many people as possible who are on this platform are feeling your pulse. I can already see messages that people are sending to me, appreciating those comments that you have made. You have spoken about the ICDA, that it needs to be properly positioned, and this is very germane. I also know that somebody sent a private chat to me and said one of the challenges of ICDA is that because it is political in the sense that you need to get elected to be onto that group. And the person was saying, can't we go through the route of Remo, growth and development, methodology, whatever? But you have spoken about the fact that ICDA, which is the constitutional authority, needs to get itself right. You also spoke about the education, starting from primary, secondary. Thank God that Shoyombo is in the house. I know that when many of us were growing up, those of us who grew up in Nigeria, if you wanted to go to our institution, to go to secondary school, there were those private secondary schools outside of Lagos that their names were ringing bell. The one in the Kenemi Flower and all of those things. Do we have a model private school in Iperu that can attract people to say, let me send my words there? Even among the public schools, do we really have model public schools that is also possible to also attract people to come to the town? These are areas that you have mentioned, and I'm sure Bob will respond to some of those things from our own perspective, because she's also in charge of basic education. And then you also mentioned the issue of a proper plan for the town. If the town is not, if the boundaries is not defined, you will grow at cross purposes, and it will not be meaningful. And I'm sure that you have spoken the right words, and we need to be able to use this. We started by saying that the town is the most centralized community in the area. If that is what Google is telling us, like you asked, have we been able to justify this? Have we been able to utilize it for its purpose? Well, these are areas that I'm sure that our audience will get back to you as we move on. Well, I want to bring Madam Shoyombo on the platform now. She's a wonderful speaker. I've listened to her severally. But while she's getting her severally, let me just quickly thank Otumba Arubieke. He's on the platform. These are people that came out of their way to support this process. Abiola Ogundeko, before you joined, I've already appreciated you through Aderoke Shoyombo. You have helped us to publicize this program, even though you are not from Iperu. We want to thank you so much. So let's move on. We are ready for you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning to KBSC, the Alakbaro of Iperu. My wonderful in-laws, because I am not from Iperu, but I'm married to you. So I want to say good morning and thank you so much, Barrister Kolade, for giving me this opportunity. I want to really thank all the wonderful speakers because my brothers have spoken and I just want to go with them. Now, having married to Iperu, I know a bit about Iperu. And I must say, to me, since I arrived in Nigeria in the last 6 years, I've seen Iperu to be a town that has a lot of potentials. And why am I saying that? When we come home on the 31st of December, you see a lot of youth. A lot of them are jobless. A lot of them are very eager to do things. But at the same time, where are the missing links? The missing link to me will be, number one, we've talked about all the great men that have come out of Iperu. I mean, if we happen to have a senior advocate of Nigeria, it's not something I want to take for granted. That means we have great role models. We have a whole governor from Iperu. And also, we've got people to mention. Then, to me, the missing link will be, why do we have those people? And where are those people in Iperu? Why are people not coming? Why are the elite not coming home? Those are the kind of things that we need to look at. Now, coming from the education perspective, I've looked at how many primary schools we have in Iperu. Currently, we have about 8 primary schools, and we have about 4 secondary schools. But the key one that I want to take, for example, is Christ Apostolic School, Apollo. Now, you will see that Apollo in those days was a school that had a lot of potentials, because our schools were always competing with Apollo, with the likes of Ayetoro Comprehensive, with the likes of RSS. And today, in Ogun State, I mean, as the essay on education, we have 31 of them, which we have called our 31 model colleges. Now, those schools, when you look at their result in the last 4 years, there is nothing to write home about. Standard has gone completely down. And to me, if we're looking at standard, that's something that we as a state is seriously working at. Because with Apollo, for example, Apollo, we're trying to raise the standard of how can we restore the boarding house system back? Because most of the successful people that actually finished from that place were in the boarding house. And you can have structured environments that can seriously support learning so that at least they can cushion the day students. But today, a lot of people out of personal gains, they've gone to set out a lot of hostels out there. And that's something that has affected Iperu. Because with that, in fact, somebody was talking to me on the security of our children, where children will go to all these private hostels. But we are working on that as quickly as possible. Then the other thing is, when you look at the state of our primary schools, to me, it's nothing to write home about. And what are we doing about that? At the moment, we've got 2 of the schools that we're going to be given 7 additional classrooms to. I mean, one is going to have 7 additional classrooms, and the second one is going to have another 2 additional classrooms, so that we can start working on that. But part of the things we're looking at is, how are the teachers teaching in those schools? Because if we don't go to the grassroots level and get education back to Iperu, we may not be able to address anything. Because education to me is key. And that goes to our mothers, that goes to our women, that goes to us setting priorities right. Because a lot of us, I mean, we've seen education as you go to school, go and meet your teacher. But at the same time, part of the things that we need to look at is, how can we restore education back from early childhood stage? Because a lot of children don't understand the importance of it. And those are things that they will benefit from if we had career talks, if we had role models coming back home, if we had opportunities where people can see their role models, that they're not the musicians, they're not the footballers. And not only that, everybody has been speaking about the fact that we need to bring back technical education. because we have a lot of graduates from Iperu. When we came into power about 10 months ago, what His Excellency did was, let's ask people that don't have jobs. Iperu indigents were quite many on the platform. People having, I mean, a lot of our youths that have got good degrees, but they don't have jobs. But at the same time, they don't have extra skills. So what are we doing about that? What we are planning to do, and which we are almost starting already, is the fact that we have gone to review all the, because we have more industries in Ogun State as a whole. If I'm not looking at just Iperu, we have more industries. We are trying to set up all our eight technical colleges, and one is in Remo that we can tap into. Because with that, how can we have them for dual vocational schools, where they can spend 70% of the time in schools, I mean in industries, and 30% of the time in their schools? Because we need our students, our youth, to actually be empowered more. Please, if there's nothing we're taking away from me this morning, to me, youth empowerment is key. Because if we're not careful, this generation of successful people in Iperu might roll away, but what about the ones that are yet to come? Then another thing is looking at the boarding, looking at the school as well. How can we actually upgrade? Because this is where we need the power of all students. All students, a lot of people have passed out from Christ Apostolic. How are we supporting that school for the glory to come back again? Because quite a lot of our schools, there's no way the government can do everything by himself. Government cannot do it all. So we need to support these schools. We need to ensure that our children see great role models, our children are empowered, and not only that, our parents can see and can actually get the priorities right. Then, I mean, the likes of Day Waterman College, we've got that in Abeokuta. A lot of people want to come back to those schools. They want to send their wards there. And what are we doing? What we are doing at the moment is, how can we quickly renovate the hostels in Christ Apostolic? We're trying to actually work with them so that when we do that, all the 31 colleges, we're going to advertise them on channels, so that even in England, so that people can send their wards to those places. Above all, part of the things that I can suggest for Iperu is, if we can have a place where we can have a very beautiful school, where people can come for the weekends. I mean, if we have acres of land where we can have hotel, where their parents can come and spend weekends, so that we have a retreat opportunity. People can come and see the beauty of Iperu, because Iperu to me has a lot of potentials that we're yet to tap into. I'll stop at this stage because I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Adirunkeshi. You've spoken from the perspective of positioning education for the purpose of galvanizing the town for greater development. And this is very, very essential. The first two speakers, we also noticed that we probably, okay, the second speaker, we lost him to the town because he never had an opportunity of doing schooling around the system. But while we're also having this generation, like you mentioned, how many of us are conveniently send our words back to schools in Iperu? And if we can't start that, the meaning is that there's no connection anyhow. Many of us that are outside of Iperu already will never have any reason to want to say, okay, let my child go back to one school there, because we don't have the likes of Waterman that you mentioned and all of those big schools that are modern environment. But I also love the fact that Shola Idowu is a product of Apollo. And this is a call to duty for people like that. I know he's been doing it. There's also a call to people like that they need to do much more towards developing this town. We'll wait for people to make their comments, and we can respond to those things.